Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Bunnies and BZCast. I'm your host, Randy. I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in to the show, to the Bunnies and BZCast. This is the official podcast of BunniesZine.com. Couple of things. We do have a guest on our show tonight to tell a very, very cool and amazing story about a very, at this point, legendary bunny in our bunny community. I can't wait to bring her in. I'll bring her in a few minutes. Guys, I just got back from a couple days ago. Today's recording is, I'm recording this on October 21st, 2016. This is episode 29. Episode 28 was released just a couple days before this recording. So if you haven't listened to that yet, check it out. I did a review of the summer House Rabbit Society Journal, and I talked about, I didn't really tell anyone what I talked about in the second half of the recording, but the second half of the recording is centered around, how can I explain this, centered around the grief and the beating ourselves up that we deal with after the passing of a bunny, and just trying to think of the ways to deal with it, and what to tell yourself and what to think about in dealing with those situations and those it's kind of depressing sometimes, those depressing thoughts. So that's I know that sounds like a big bummer to the second half of that last episode, but it is, I think, very important to talk about, and that's why I talked about it in the second half of the episode. And I did not put that in the description at all on Facebook or Twitter or on YouTube. The amazing trip. It was a much needed vacation for my wife and I. I looked for it, but I did not get to see the Don't Dump Rabbits billboard. I'm not sure exactly where it's at in the vicinity of the Las Vegas Strip, but I did not see it. We didn't do that much driving. You get to the Strip, and unless you rent a car, you don't really leave the Strip unless you want to pay for a bus or if you want to pay a lot of money for a cab to get off the Strip, the Las Vegas Strip. So, for the most part, we just stayed on it. It's really long, and there's a lot going on, especially at night. The nightlife is a whole different world in Las Vegas. I'll just put it at that. It's our second year in a row going there, and it was awesome. It was a great time. Also, while I'm recording this, and I'm not going to jinx myself, I'm not saying anything is going to happen. I mentioned it briefly a couple times in previous recordings that I am a Chicago Cubs fan. Been a diehard my whole life since I was a kid, and as I'm recording this, they are possibly 24 hours away from going to their first World Series in whatever, it's been 70 years, over 70 years. I don't even know what the number is. Their first World Series in over 70 years and be winning one in like 108 years. So I am thrilled. They're up 3-2. For anyone who does not know what baseball is, I apologize. But I'm thrilled. I am super thrilled. If they win it all, throwing a giant party. And by the time you guys actually listen to this recording, no, it was actually, today's the 21st, so it'll be the end of October, so that means we'll be right around a new issue, a new e-magazine issue, which will drop November 1st, but before you guys just wait for that November 1st issue to drop, make sure you download our Halloween issue. It's the pinned post on our Facebook page and on our Twitter page, and it is also the link in our profile on our Instagram page. Social media accounts. We are BunnyZine on Facebook, at official BZine on Twitter, and official BunnyZine on Instagram. If you want to email the show, I'll also talk about this stuff at the end of the show, as I always do. If you want to email the show, it's bunnyzinecast@gmail.com, bunnyzinecast@gmail.com. If you want to talk about, you want to make a comment about the show, you have any you have an idea for a guest for this show, you just want to talk about bunnies, any of that fun stuff, I have the email on my phone. I get an alert every time. And if you want to email the show, our channel, the Bunnies Eye and BZCast. If you're just listening to this like off Facebook or Twitter, we have channels. Our YouTube channel is Bunnies Eye and BZCast. Well, our channels are Bunnies Eye and BZCast. If you just search that, you can find it on YouTube, you can find it on iTunes, and you can find it on SoundCloud.com. All right, taking a quick sip of water. Today's podcast recording is a different kind of recording because we've reflected on bunnies in the past, but we've, outside of my tribute recording for my Milo, who I talked about in the last episode, in episode 28, we've never really centered a episode around a bunny, and it won't be 100% around her story, but it'll be pretty close. And we never really done an episode, but I think it's going to be a really good, amazing story. And it, like I said, a bunny in our community that's just, a legend, like the like the Babe Ruth, or I can't think of another like sports legend that's no longer with us. Like the Babe Ruth of the bunny world. It's the legacy lives on. So I will be bringing in my guest right now. My guest is Patty of Bright Eyes Sanctuary. Patty, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. And how are you?
Well, doing well. Before we get into the bunny that I haven't mentioned her name yet, but I will in a second. As I mentioned that you represent Bright Eyes Sanctuary, why don't you tell us, give us a little bit of background about Bright Eyes Sanctuary?
Okay, well, I founded Bright Eyes Sanctuary in September 2007 because basically we had been doing cat rescues, but then we switched to bunny rescue. We had some rescue birds and rescue dogs, and so we were multi-species. So that's pretty much the reason that it was founded, because we recognized the sentient in all of those other animals too. So, but we were mainly founded to handle our rabbit population, which are almost all pretty old bunnies. So that's how we started. Well, actually, before that, we were Sparkling Heart Sanctuary, and I set it up as an LLC. I did it incorrectly because I didn't know what I was doing at the time. Then I had to close that and set it up as just a regular incorporation. So I did that, and I wasn't allowed to have any family members on the board, which is what I had done before. I just made the whole board my family. So now we have like other bunny huggers helping us too, and we have placed so many bunnies. It's kind of bizarre. I remember I was running this rabbit adoption program for Frederick County Animal Control, and there was a point where they had like 70 bunnies a year approximately, or at least at that time they did. We were doing 4 bondings simultaneously, and my husband was working night shift, so I would do day shift, taking care of the bondings, and then he'd take over when he got He's doing 2 bunnies and I'm doing 2. It's kind of crazy. But we got every single rabbit adopted that year. And that's when we had just gotten a letter of advance ruling. So, does that answer your question?
Yeah. I don't know if you mentioned. I might have missed it. Where is Bright Eyes located from, or located at?
We are incorporated in Williamsport, Maryland, which we're actually in Hagerstown, up the road a bit, but that's where we have our post office. And we also have volunteers all over the place. So not just us, but this is me and my husband. He's the one who started the whole bunny rescue. He brought some neighbors had put out their rabbits with the trash when they moved, and he brought them in. And I was just like, oh, no rabbits. Because I'd had one before that back then our neighbors had put out with the trash, and my dad told me about it. That was a Flemish giant, and he would spray in his forehead. So he was a very interesting rabbit. But I just couldn't deal with that at that time. But he went to my piano teacher, so he was okay.
Awesome. That's a really, really sweet story of how Bright Eyes started, just with you and your husband, and then you guys kind of grew with volunteers.
Yeah, so I would always say, it's your fault. He came in, and we knew something, and they had a lot of animals, because we'd already taken in some of their cats. And the whole neighborhood, I think, was just sort of bracing for what would happen when they left. And they put the bunnies out with the trash. My husband saw that. And it's just natural for him to want to help, some little being in need, or anybody really that needs help.
That's awesome. That
started it.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, they're precious. So those were the 2 first bunnies, Darth and Jar Jar. Yeah, we've gone through all of Star Wars and Lord of the Rings and Battlestar Galactica and of course Star Trek. What am I thinking? We haven't actually done that many with Star Trek names. Just Spock, really. But he was a guinea pig.
That's cool. I like it.
We have 2 guinea pigs now, and we've taken in some guinea pigs over the years, just like we have a guinea pig slot in our life. So we can help out a couple of them.
I appreciate that. I'm a big nerd for Star Wars and some TV shows and comic books and the comic book movies and comic book TV shows. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. We're just big science fiction fans. And so, rabbits are rather prominent in that department. I could take you on every tangent you could possibly imagine. So I should probably not.
No, it's okay.
Things here.
It's okay. So as I said in the beginning, we never really did an episode kind of centered around a bunny and their life, their lived life with in general, and outside of me with my own episode, my tribute episode for Milo. I actually, for everyone that doesn't know who I'm talking about yet, I'm talking about Josephine the Queen. She was 18 and a half years old. I did a YouTube video. It was just strictly a YouTube video. It was maybe between 10 and 15 minutes long, where I talked about her passing. I talked about we did a story about her in Bunny's Eye a long time ago. I can't remember exactly how long ago it was, but I feel like it was a long time ago. And it might have been when she wasn't even 18 yet. It might have been when she was still 17 years old. But that's an historic age and long life for a bunny. And we just want to get into that. Now, Patty, what was it like living with with a bunny for and for such a long time, managing having a bunny for such a long time in your life?
Well, that's funny you should ask. There's Josephine, all the people who love her today, she's gone. She was a mean rabbit, and that's why she never got adopted.
Oh, wow.
She would fight. Oh, she bit everybody she ever met. But she stopped fighting the vet because she really liked the vet.
Okay.
The vet is doing dental work for her and trying to extend her life, and I'm like, she hates me, But that was so long. It was like 7 years ago. So she made it. It was just every day we would look at each other, and she just had this game on face. But then she had that dental illness, and I had to take her into the vet to get her gel implant of antibiotics stuffed in her fistulas, and every week for months and months. And so every time she would get in the carrier, she would, before she saw the carrier coming in the room, she went to the back of her litter box and took a long, emptied her bladder. Really good. So she never had to do anything while she was away until she got home. She knew how to, control it or something. So we really bonded at that time, and we struck up this accord, mutual respect,
Yeah.
Finally realized that I had a little bit of value. But I didn't blame her because, she's seen, I don't know how many babies she had as a breeder, but you can be sure that they were taken from her by 6 weeks, 8 weeks, regardless of what's legal wherever they were,
So,
But she hated people because of that. I don't blame her.
So Josephine I was going to get into this. I was literally just about to ask this, but you just kind of started the answer. And that is, how, in her 18 and a half years, how long were you with her?
13 and a half years.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah, she was a breeder's cull. So the rescue had taken her and I guess a few others. And then they got into trouble supposedly with their animal control in their county and had to downsize from about 50 rabbits to whatever it turned out to be. So we helped them out, which I think was 3. Josephine and little Holland Rock. Yeah, no, just 2 really. So, and Josephine was one of them, and they told us that she was 5, and that she was a from a breeder's cull. And, she's being retired at the age of 5. But that's when I guess the females who can breed, their genetic integrity must start to disintegrate or something. Or they get uterine cancer. That's what it is. You get uterine cancer.
Okay.
So they're of no use anymore.
So that makes her. That that makes her story even like more. I mean, not more, but bigger. Like she lived this long of a life with that kind of start with with how many years that a breeder used her for breeding bunnies.
Yeah, 5 years.
Yeah.
That's that statistic where you quote to people that 85% of male rabbits will get uterine cancer by the time they're 5 years old unless they're spayed. Well, that's where that comes from. Which I guess that study, which is really old, but so what? That was done in cooperation with rabbit husbandry experts. And that's, I guess, when all that high percentage of females develop the uterine cancer, so they're not able to breed anymore. So they get culled, which is, of course, a terrible euphemism and ridiculous that changing one vowel it makes it
no, I get what you're saying.
Something you leak, which is awesome. So I'm sorry, I'm like a jaded old rescuer person.
No, that's okay. I love talking to everyone in rescue, no matter the age or the experience. I think it's even more informal, and better for the audience with someone with more experience and knowledge in the field, in rescue in general, because, you can just provide, just from experience in so many different situations, provide so much information and education to people.
Yeah. Oh, well, I like to talk to
That's a good thing. That's a good thing about that. Communication is key in education.
Well, it is, and I have to tell a doctor, well, look, if you want to adopt from me, you have to talk to me on the phone for like an hour. Okay, so I can try and get to know you a little bit and see where your emotional investment is coming from. So
that's good. I like it.
Oh yeah, I've been called the bunny Nazi because I interrogate people, but that's okay. There's other rabbit rescues. We're just a small one, so we're not like highly motivated to just hand the rabbits out. We do what we can do, and we have wonderful volunteers who are people who I have carefully considered, before they were given their adopted rabbit. And they're just wonderful. Just the best people that I've ever met. So I don't have any problem with waiting for a really good adopter. And it's worth it also, even if a rabbit has to wait a long time, like Dusty just got adopted. And she's 6 years old. He's a little stray rabbit found in Central Park. And the person that rescued him was moving to this area the next day. So we agreed to help her out and take him rather than going to an already overcrowded shelter in D.C. So he was kind of a semi-feral, and he would bite. he would come up behind you and bite you in the back. So he didn't do so well at matches either. For the same reason, he would bite the girls. And I can't let that happen. So sometimes, yeah, they don't do well at matches. Like we have little old Michelle, this senior mini op who is now probably 9 or 10, and she did horrible at matches. And she would just start this fight and just like swinging the male around. Like, get out of here. So that's we end up with the black cats, and because they have so much trouble getting adopted. We have 2 black cats, and so we have old, grumpy female rabbits and old, grumpy men rabbits. We just have a couple, like 2 youngsters under 2 years old.
Okay.
So we have total of 30, and it's a lot of work grooming them. That's for sure.
Yo, I bet. I had a quick question that I thought of that I didn't think about like 20 minutes ago when I was thinking about the recording of the show. We talked about in the past, you and I think it was through like Twitter message or YouTube comments that you were possibly going to go like send the information to the Guinness Book of World Records about Josephina and her age. And I believe the last time I talked to you, you said you didn't do it. Was there any more consideration to do that? Did it something that you wanted to do, or?
Well, that's a very good question with probably unintended depth to it.
Gotcha.
But I come from a publishing background, medical publishing,
Okay.
and I know that industry pretty darn well. And the Guinness Book of World Records is a publication, so that's all fine. I went through a lot of trying to decide on if I should put the time into the archaeological expedition that it would be to extract the digital evidence that I have on like 5 generations ago computer. So, and at the same time, I'm an invalid, and I have a huge amount of time just sucked into taking care of administration of that aspect of who I am, as well as the administration of all this bunny business. It's a company, so I have to keep all that up, and then it goes on and out. And when am I going to get to be able to extract those records of Josephine, which are so old now? That's the other thing. I really wasn't expecting it.
Yeah.
And so I did register her. I went in and filled out this thing you have to fill out to have them even consider her for the title of the world's oldest living rabbit, which to my knowledge is the only record that rabbits have. So I think there's the biggest one, oldest one. There might be something else I really don't know, but for the oldest one, it's just, it has to be a living rabbit.
I saw one a long time ago. sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
I saw something. I don't know. It was like a Google search or something, and it came up as like a secondary website where it talked about the longest ears. Maybe I think it was Guinness as the rabbit with the. That's maybe what you saw. I briefly remember coming across that on Facebook or Google one day. But that's it's not irrelevant, but it's irrelevant into with what we're talking about now. Outside of the fact that I think that was one of the other things that they had in there was like the bunny with the longest measured ears, something like along those lines.
So, and then it was a really long wait period for them to decide that they will consider her. And then they accepted it, so she was officially registered.
Okay.
And then I had to gather her provenance and all the proof and evidence and all the good stuff, and send it in. And that's where time-consuming archaeology comes in. And I'm like in and out of the hospital several times already this year, like probably 5 times total, and just on and on. I have regular medical things that have to be attended to every single day. So I have a premium. My time is like at a premium. I have to literally make sure that I have enough non-bunny business time every day, and then I listen to music, upbeat music, stuff like that. So I couldn't do it. It comes down to that. I can't. Someday I will dig that out of there, but to my knowledge, there is no oldest dead rabbit record. Do you know of one?
No, I never heard of that. So, if you even wanted to continue with the registration, they would have had to see, like they wouldn't have you, you couldn't. I'm trying to word this right. You couldn't like prove to them her length of age, and they wouldn't go with that, or no?
Well, it was kind of vague what exactly would suffice as evidence in their eyes, but I would imagine it would be proof of when the rescue lady who I got, Josephine, and this one other who I mentioned, is Colin Locke, who came with a pedigree, by the way. And so I would just have to prove that all happened. Excuse me. And I had lost contact with her. So, but I did try to have a mutual friend ask her for help, and the lady that Josephine came from, she just said she didn't think that she had Josephine, and she just copped out. But then at the same time, her rescue had gotten shut down, so kind of not surprising.
Gotcha. Okay, I just thought of that, like, I don't know, 20 minutes into the podcast, that the thought popped up in my head, because I remember, when she was still with us, like, I don't know, 6-8 months ago, that it was like an Instagram post maybe that you guys were like doing the whole registration process, and then
yeah.
But like you said, it does sound like a lot of hard paperwork and other crazy stuff to deal with. When I did see that like longest ears post, it had said that the bunny had passed away in 2000, I can't remember, 8 or 9 maybe, or 2012. I can't remember the year, but the exact year, but it was like 4 more years ago. it had mentioned that in the summary of about the rabbit and its long ears. I don't know if that means anything at all.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah, but for us in the bunny community, for all the bunny people, we all know she's the record holder, whether it's in a Guinness book or not. So
well, I'm still friendly, regular contact with the go-between friend that I mentioned, and I don't know what to say. It's just that she had sent me an email, the rescuer who got Josephine and this other rabbit, Starbuck. And she had sent me their descriptions and brief summaries of their, like their births and stuff in an email. And so that's where I have the record. And the one rabbit came with a pedigree as well, so somewhere in here, you have to realize how many hundreds of rabbits ago we're talking about.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And she goes back to she was the oldest rabbit and that we've had the longest of all. We've had old rabbits like 15 years old, 15 and a half, but they came in when they were 14. So we didn't really have them very long. We just got them when they're, barely able to stand up or sit up and stuff like that. So we're like a nursing home for these old bunnies. And then, I'm practically like a nursing home joke myself. But aside from that, Joseph never had any bunny as long as her. And yet we've taken care of and adopted out so many hundreds of rabbits. And she's the one that we had the longest. And it's because she was so mean. Which is the part that really cracks me up. Like, something about the genes, what our vet said very passingly. It must be something about the chinchilla gene and the longevity, which makes sense because chinchillas themselves, they live into their 20s. So maybe it is a really healthy gene to be half black and half white.
Yeah, so you're talking about like the chinchilla, the actual animal itself. So I didn't know that about them. I've only seen them in like PetSmart or that kind of thing. I've never come into contact with one or met anyone that's ever actually had one. So I didn't know that about their lifespans. I didn't know they could live that long. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, they do. Or they can. They don't end up on a coat hanger.
Yeah.
But, Josephine, it was, I mean, years would go by and I would just be like, I think I'm going to start telling people how old you are now. Like, I remember posting when she was 16 on Instagram, and it was like, oh, whoop-de-doo. There's a lot of 16-year-old rabbits, which there are. But then some of them make it to almost 17, and then it starts becoming less remarkable. And then I'm posting, well, she's 17 now. And there was a little burp there, like, oh, that's cool, that's really cool. Okay, now she's 18. And then all of a sudden one day, I think it was after the Bunny story on her, and all of a sudden, I made a video of my husband and I singing happy birthday to her and posted it.
Aww.
It was like this bomb dropped. went viral. I'm like, how far is it going to go? So, and that was really cool when that was happening. I was like, honey, look at this. Oh, my gosh. And we're looking at Josephine like, she's like barely 1 pound, you know? And she's got this attitude. She's just like got her shoulder in this certain way that she's assertive, you know, 1 pound of assertion.
It's not
really
the,
incredible little personality.
It's not the size in the dog. It's the, it's this whatever the analogy is, the the strength of the bite or something. I can't even remember. I just butchered that. When it comes to Josephine and all of her time with you guys and Bright Eyes with you and your husband, was there a time that she was ever close to being adopted?
No, because she wasn't put up for adoption, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
Because she was a liability. Okay? She was like a liability. I couldn't adopt her out to somebody, and then she, like, rips the child's finger off or something. I mean, I have lots of scars. So does my husband. I mean, she wasn't that bad. The older she got, the less she did it. But that was a long time ago that she came here, you know? So, yeah, sure. Okay, she's 12 now. Oh, she's pretty sweet. She might lick you. Oh, yeah, we're going to find a home for a 12-year-old rabbit that has ongoing medical bills. That's quite expensive. We're going to find somebody to take care of her. It doesn't work that way. Nobody. All they want to do is just like, oh, she's so cute, you know. But nobody wants to adopt them because they can't afford them. And I would venture to say that a lot of that probably is that we can, as a sanctuary, we can't really afford high vet bills, but we take it on a case-by-case basis. And if the rabbit is really putting forth a big effort to keep working, you know, and we'll keep helping them out.
Yeah.
But if they don't demonstrate a will to live, and it gets to be for longer and longer times, it's different if they're in stasis and you just work them through a day or two till they start humming again. But if they have jaw abscesses and they're not fighting and that they don't want to eat and stuff like that, we're not going to prolong that situation. We would have never done that to Josephine. Otherwise, she'd still be here right now. So she called the shots and she let us know, okay, this race is over. But she won.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I mean, it's always tough in life when talking about someone's lifespan and the quality of life that they live, whether you're talking about an animal or a person. You know, whether they had quote unquote a good run, and you know, I guess it kind of it depends on your opinion and it depends on your perception of viewing the situation. But I don't know, for the most part, I could say that's a really, you know, good long a good run for Josephine, or for, you know, for her, a bunny in general, 18 and a half years. You brought up some of the ongoing medical bills. What were some? I mean, the biggest thing with bunnies and age is just they run into so many different types of health problems. As I've talked in the past about Milo, as I mentioned him a couple times in this episode already. He ran into stasis, and I mean, you know, 3 days into stasis, it took his life. And there are so many different situations where I've seen people, you know, talk about their bunny having stasis for like the 4th time, and then they're fine like a day or 2 later. And so it's different for everyone. But like 18 years and probably dealing with a ton of medical issues. What are some of the medical issues you guys had to deal with and that Josephine had to fight through?
Well, she never had any problems at all until one day when she was 13. She had some oral nasal fistulas explode in her mouth, which were upper molars that just like kind of blew out, and there was like an abscess left, and so it was blocked up her sinuses, and she could only breathe through her mouth. So she went in right away, of course, and the vet went in and cleared out all the abscess material, and then the oronasal fistulas are like a hole in the roof of your mouth, and so she would pack them with gel, antibiotic gel, and they have to be changed once a week. So that's when it came in that I was gathering up Josephine and whatever other rabbits needed to go to the vet that day. Emailing my vet like Wednesday, funny. And so she went in every week for a month. I just, and then at some point I was like, we spent like $3,000 on this rabbit in this many months. And how old can she live? She's already 13.
Wow.
And then, so it turns out that Josephine needed to have regular molar trims, and her teeth were really messed up. And a lot of times, I hope I'm getting this right, my vet will probably be like, but a lot of times she would get a tooth extracted. That was being a problem, and so she had a number of that times she had tooth extracted. I always kept all the teeth, so I always keep the rabbit teeth to get extracted. So, well, come on, it's like this is your piece of ivory, cruelty-free ivory. So she came through that, and then she got to the point where she didn't have to go in every 6 to 8 weeks for a molar trim. She needed to go in once a year. And eventually, it never got lower than once a year, but it had to be that once a year, which she had to go have done this past March. And I was scared to death. And so I don't want to say that was scared too, but we were both on it, the tips of our toes. That's speaking. And that was quite expensive each month. I mean, we're talking about like $350 a week.
Oh wow.
Yeah, something like that. But because we're a sanctuary, we get the rescue discount, which isn't really a whole lot, but our vet, tries to contribute as much as she can as well. Like some places will charge you for the paper towels that are used for your pet.
Jeez.
And she doesn't do that for us. So we do pretty good with how we take care of them that way. And we raise the money, we raise funds for them pretty effectively too, for some reason. But it's compelling,
Oh yeah, I mean the kind of money and like investment that I would just say like a normal not normal, but in an average situation that can be spent is huge. I talked in the past. I have two bunnies. I have Moose and Nova, and people that have listened before, you guys know about Moose and Nova. That when we adopted Nova, she had Kuda Ibra, and that was that was fun to deal with, and which made me feel even more terrible with her, and it kind of even gave me a better understanding about her, about why she was so shy, and then that. I was talking to a friend of mine from HRS Chicago, and about Nova, and she was just like, well, most likely, Nova, for her to get this was, stranded outside. She doesn't know if, you can't determine really how long, but she was stranded outside, and whew, dealing with the bill of that just out of the gate right after adopting her. And it was like, adoption fees for bunnies aren't really that high to begin with. They vary $30, $50, $75, $100 sometimes. I actually adopted her on a clear the shelter day, so she was absolutely free to adopt. And I've told that story in the past about about me waiting like hours to adopt her because there was like 500 people in a list in front of me checking out animals and stuff. It was nuts. It's a great day for the rescues and for the animals. So many animals find homes, and it's amazing. It's just giant crowds of people for the places that participate in Clear the Shelter Day. And I just mumbled on about random thing. But just in comparison, it's like, the Nova adopt this little girl. She's so nice and sweet. And, then boom, and notice these red marks around her. And then a big thing in her chest and almost like a giant hole. And I'm like, all right, you're going to the vet. And then they have those removed. It was an emergency 24-hour. Which I'm lucky because a lot of people don't have those around them. I feel lucky that we have one within an hour of driving distance. A 24-hour exotic animal hospital. So they took care of her, but still getting the bill afterwards. It was like, we adopted you for free. And then here comes a nearly $1,000 medical bill. I don't remember the exact amount, but it was something around in that area. The irony of it all. I can't even imagine the sum total of 13, even though she was pretty healthy for most of her life, the sum total of 13 and a half years with Josephine.
Well, I usually say to myself that Josephine costs about $1,000 a year for every year of her life. So we have really, 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 really spent a lot of money on that little lady, let me tell you. So she lived 18 and a half years. That's about what she cost. $18,500. I kid you not. Unfortunately, we're deeply in debt from that bill. But we keep working on it, and I'm going to be doing some online fundraising too with selling on eBay as a confirmed charity. If the Russians will let them finish their process, I'm stuck in right now.
Well, that's a good transition into what I was going to talk to. First, before we get into the final talking point, I'd like to thank you for talking about Josephine and her story. I waited. I really, really wanted to wait. There is no set amount of grieving time. I think for all of us that have lost bunnies of our life, there is no set amount of grieving time. You know what I mean? It really never ends. And I appreciate you coming on to talk about it. I know it had to be pretty difficult to, emotionally reflect on some things, especially, having a 13 and a half year, relationship. She was your family. And I appreciate you for coming on and talking about her.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about her because it helps, it does. It helps a lot to talk about her and just the idea that she's so loved, so widely loved. It's really something. It's incredible. And she really was amazing. And she really learned the different expressions to make. And she was such a natural poser. I would just be like, okay, here's your medicine now. Give me a pretty pose. And she's like, okay, here's. What about this one? And I've always noticed that with elderly dwarfs. They are natural little models. They probably know that they're just little tiny bunnies. So people must have got them because they want to take pictures of them.
Well, yeah, I mean, that comes with her her mean diva attitude, I guess, right?
Yeah, and she is just so in command, and you will do what she wants. You will not displease her, or she will look at you like you're just leech fodder. What a little thing of personality she had.
So the next talking point that you were talking about the debt with the medical bills. I wanted to bring this up, and I do this for everyone that comes on, but I definitely want to do it for you as well. If there's any events, any fundraisers that are going on online or in person, or sorry about that, or any any event, fundraising events, or is there any way that people can help you in dealing with these, with Josephine and Josephine's medical bills?
Well, I paid off her last medical bill, which was 99% for Puka, for his special ultrasound guided biopsy training of his thymoma that he was getting regularly, keeping him alive, and which is an incredible tale too. But yeah, that doesn't represent all of the medical bills. I mean, all of the bills are on the Bright Eyes credit card, and I just it's like, oh my God, I'm never going to pay that one off. But I'm going to do a new issue of Running Fun magazine for this coming fall and holiday season. And that's going to be kind of the main place you can go to help us raise money. Because I'll be selling stuff to eBay, and 100% of the proceeds will go to the bunnies. And then there'll be, I want to set up a shop where people can go and buy maybe cards of Josephine, different products like that. A couple people have asked me about they would like something like that. So I'm looking into that. And then I've always wanted to get it set up where people can order covers of Running Bun magazine. And so I want to, and it's been 2 years since I published a Running Bun, but it's been a rough 2 years, so I do what I can when I can.
Of course, and that's all.
So there's no event, no big event, sorry.
No, that's okay. I'm sure though with your guys' website, is there for people that just have a little bit to donate to help out? What is your guys' website?
Well, it's brighteyesanctuary.org, and there is how help section with the donate button. It's just PayPal. The PayPal email address to send donations to is brighteyesalive@mac.com. And then the Facebook page is facebook.com/brighteyesalive. And then we're on Instagram as well under Bright Eyes Sanctuary. And Twitter, Bright Eyes Alive on Twitter. And on Flickr and Tumblr. So what I want to do for fundraising is to really get like an online revenue stream going, which I just described, because we really can't do anything else, like live events and stuff. We have volunteers that come out and help to do chores, and that's about all we can handle.
Okay. So
yeah, we've done events in the past that were really successful, but I'm just too. It's actually this month, like 2 years ago, that I became an invalid, and I've just been adjusting to that, and that's been very hard, frankly. And there's not a lot of people. I'm not trying to brag or anything, but there's not a lot of people who would have kept it all going. There was no way that I wasn't going to keep everything going smoothly. So, to me, that was paramount and still is.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you sharing all the information. For the magazine, we've talked through messaging and email in the past. I think that's actually how me and you first talked, was through Run Bun magazine. Where can people find that when it comes out? Will you guys be posting that on your social media accounts?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So, everyone that's listening, stay tuned for that. I think we had Running Bun magazine featured in Bunny Zine before a long time ago. So I think we did a story about Running Bun that kind of coincided with the story of Josephine. So for any of our longtime Bunny Zine readers that are listening to this, you guys probably briefly remember it, but it's a very fun magazine. I remember checking it out in the past, and stay tuned for that. To help Bright Eyes, Patty and Bright Eyes, and the wonderful people over there, her husband and the volunteers with the bunnies, visit brighteyessanctuary.org to help out. If you can donate, like I said in the past 1,000 times, every penny counts. That should be like the slogan for every rescue on their donation page, because it all adds up to help the rescues. Patty, I would really like to thank you to come on for talking about Bright Eyes. I'd like to thank you for coming on to tell Josephine's story, which is just a really remarkable story, and we'll talk again in the future. Definitely talk again in the future. And the best of luck to you in Run Bun magazine and Bright Eye Sanctuary.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Randy, and I really appreciate it. And I'll be looking forward to seeing and hearing podcasts in the future from Bunny.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for always listening as well. I know you're one of our I always say one of our listeners that's been listening for a while now, so I appreciate that as well. You take care, Patty. You have a good night.
Thank you, too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Again, guys, that is Patty with Bright Eyes Sanctuary. That was, again, a really remarkable story about Josephine and her run in life. We got to expand more on her rescue work and Patty's rescue work and her husband and the volunteers and her the work with Bright Eyes Sanctuary, which was really cool. I'm really glad. I was the timing of the podcast is like perfect. It's a little over the 1 hour mark. I'm actually not going to dive too much into anything else because that was a lot of information, and Patty was a great guest. Not saying that about all my other guests, but usually I have some kind of talking point at the end of the podcast. There won't really be one today. So just a quick reminder that by the time you guys are hearing this, we'll be close to November 1st. So stay tuned for the November issue of Bunnyzine. Again, you'll see that dropped on our Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. Usually because Dustin releases I'm in the central time zone in Illinois. So when Dustin releases a new issue, it's like 11 p.m. my time, and I'm not fully awake at that time to be up, posting the magazine on Instagram and Twitter. So if you want to get it like right away and you're up a little bit and then later in the night, especially if you're in the United States, it's like 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. at that time when he's uploading it. Go to our Facebook page. That's Bunnyzine on Facebook. It will be up like the following morning, and I usually make it, I put it as a note in my phone to make sure I post that it's, that the new issue is out on Twitter and Facebook like the following morning, which is like the 1st. He usually posts it like around 11 p.m. on the 30th or 31st, like the end of the month, my time. But, whatever. In different time zones, it's already, the 1st of the month. So, it's whatever. I'm talking in circles. But you guys get what I'm saying. So if you want to get it first, go to our Facebook page. It'll be on the following morning on Twitter and Instagram. Our Twitter is @officialbzine and Instagram @officialbunnyzine. This podcast, Bunnyzine BZCast, you can find on YouTube.com, SoundCloud.com, and on iTunes Podcast. As I'm getting ready to close out the show, I wasn't fully honest. I wasn't fully prepared with my audio and music. As I know I should be. Just getting that all queued up right now. So, again, I would like to thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure with our e-magazine, make sure you guys download. I mentioned that by the time you guys hear this, as I'm recording this on the 21st, a new issue will be out. But if you haven't downloaded our Halloween issue yet, you guys definitely should. It's awesome. You guys will love it. Bunnies and Halloween costumes and a bunch of other fun stories and a bunch of other fun stuff. You guys will definitely love it. I love it. You guys will definitely love it. Make sure you share it. If you got a Facebook Bunny page or you just want to share it in a group page or something like that, that'd be awesome. We at Bunnyzine, guys, appreciate all your help with downloads and sharing and liking and all that fun stuff, and also leaving reviews. We've been lucky that so many people have left like 5-star reviews on our Facebook page. So if you haven't done that yet and you like Bunnyzine, leave a review. We are grateful for those. What else was I gonna say? Oh, when it comes, speaking of reviews, I've mentioned this in the past, but I'll briefly mention it. On our iTunes, if you are someone that listens to us on iTunes, you can leave a review, and it helps us gain more attention. There are like different charts on iTunes, and we probably don't exist even like on a top 1,000 chart, but as far as like plays and downloads, but it helps gain more attention when you leave a review. Leave a good review. Wink, wink. But if you like the show, leave a good review on iTunes. That helps us gain more attention. I think we're our section, if you want to put it that way. There's like sports, there's news in the podcast section. I think we're listed under like family and education. So it helps us grow. If someone goes to family and education and they see Bunnyzine, they might listen to the show, and that's really, really helpful. We also want to grow our audience for this podcast. And, of course, if you want to email the show and talk about the show, leave a comment, you have an idea for a guest or a topic, bunnyzioncast@gmail.com, bunnyzioncast@gmail.com. It's just bunnyzion with the word cast, C-A-S-T, @gmail.com. Again, thank you guys for listening. You take care. Bye-bye.